The siren wailed through the dusk, a banshee's cry slicing the quiet of Willow Creek Estates. From my porch, I watched the cruiser's lights strobe across my driveway, painting my Ford F-350 in pulses of red and blue. My coffee mug steamed in my grip, untouched since the chaos erupted. A woman stood in my yard, her silhouette sharp against the fading sun, brandishing her phone like a loaded gun. "Step away from the vehicle," she bellowed, her voice a mix of authority and hysteria. I froze mid-sip, not out of fear, but disbelief. My truck-me-damn truck parked on my own land, now the centerpiece of some absurd suburban showdown. I'm Lucas Kane, county sheriff, and this wasn't just my home. It was my sanctuary. Yet here was Meredith Vaughn, self-crowned queen of the HOA, ready to wage war over a pickup she deemed an eyesore. I leaned back in my chair, boots propped on the railing, and let the scene unfold like a bad comedy. Meredith, in her pressed blazer and logoed VY sore, stomped closer, her designer poodle duo yapping in matching sweaters. The cruiser idled, and I spotted Deputy Sam Carter behind the wheel, his grin VY Cybele even from here. This wasn't a real, just Meredith's latest power trip. But as I sipped my coffee, I felt the stir of something darker. This wasn't just about a truck. It was about control, and I'd be damned if I let her claim it. The trouble had brewed for weeks, starting with a neon yellow notice slapped on my windshield. It screamed in bold caps, "Vehicle violation, non-conforming commercial unit disrupts community aesthetics." My truck, a rugged but clean F-350, had sat unmoved for 3 days during my first break in months. I chuckled then, thinking it a prank. But Meredith wasn't joking. She'd marched from her McMansion 4 houses down, clipboard in hand, her dogs trailing like a royal guard. "This monster doesn't belong here," she declared, jabbing a manicured finger at my truck. "This is Willow Creek, not a junkyard." I'd stayed calm, leaning against my porch rail. Funny, I thought this was my property. You know, where I park what I own. Her eyes narrowed, sensing defiance, but missing the fact that I wasn't just some stubborn homeowner. As sheriff, I'd faced down meth dealers, and bar brawls or clipboard didn't scare me. "Your VYO bylaws," she snapped, scribbling furiously. "Expect a fine by tomorrow." "Knock yourself out," I'd said, tipping my mug. She'd stormed off, muttering about complaints I knew didn't exist. My truck wasn't just a vehicle. It was a symbol of safety to neighbors rattled by last year's string of burglaries. I parked it front and center during patrols, a deterrent that worked. But Meredith didn't care about facts. She craved dominion, and, as the new guy in Willow Creek, I was her prime target. By evening, the cruiser arrived. Sam stepped out, barely hiding his amusement. "Sheriff, we got a wild one," he called, nodding toward Meredith, who hovered on the sidewalk, smug as a cat with a canary. "Report of a hostile vehicle terrorizing the block." I laughed so hard I nearly choked. "Terrorizing? It's parked, Sam." He shrugged, pulling a notepad. "Gotta play it by the book." "Ma'am," he turned to Meredith, "this is Sheriff Lucas Kane's truck. Elected head of county law enforcement. Anything else you want to add?" Meredith's face crumpled, her mouth flapping like a fish on a dock. "You're joking," she stammered. Sam held up a folded newspaper clipping from my last community award. "No joke. Care to sign this for my kid, Sheriff?" I scrawled my name, watching Meredith's bravado deflate. She retreated, but I knew this wasn't over. Bullies like her don't quit, they double down. Morning brought a fresh assault, for notices taped to my door, each more ridiculous than the last. Improper trash, can placement visible beyond curb. Unapproved exterior lighting, garage bulb exceeds wattage. Air quality violation, barbecue, smoke detected. My pellet smoker, barely puffing, was now a public menace? I peeled off the notices, grinning. This wasn't about rules, it was personal. Meredith had declared war, unaware I'd fought worse and won. I could have ignored her, let her tire herself out. But as sheriff, I don't just uphold laws, I stop tyrants, even pint-sized ones in yoga pants. Meredith's reign extended beyond me. She'd find Claritate for her kids' lemonade stand, citing unlicensed commerce. She'd slapped Ernie Holt, a retired Marine, with a DULA 1,500 penalty for his flagpole, claiming it cast aggressive shadows. Grace Miller's garden gnomes DULA 200 for visual clutter. Neighbors paid or fought alone, scared of her wrath. I saw a pattern. Intimidation, not governance. So I dug. Nights bled into research. I pored over county records, HOA charters, and state codes. Willow Creek's bylaws, filed a decade ago, allowed updates via a quorum vote. Meredith's versions, though, were a patchwork of fake rules, truck bans, decor limits, even mailbox color codes never ratified. Her board hadn't held an election in 4 years, via OLADing terms. The HOA's nonprofit status had lapsed, stripping its power to fine. It was a house of cards, and Meredith was no mastermind, just a petty despot with a printer. I rallied allies quietly. Ernie shared how Meredith's fines had forced him to dip into SAVYNGS. Grace admitted she'd hidden her gnomes to avoid more fees. Clara whispered about a neighbor, Dylan, caught skateboarding and threatened with public nuisance citations. I urged them to document everything: dates, notices, threats. Meredith, oblivious, escalated. A neon pink notice hit my mailbox. Imminent lien for repeated harmony violations. A lien? That was impersonation of authority illegal. I drafted a cease and desist, citing statutes, but held it, waiting for her to overplay her hand. She did. A private security van rolled in one Friday, hired by Meredith to install cameras, one aimed at my driveway, another at Ernie's porch. No vote, no notice. A guard clipped the community park's gate latch, calling it maintenance. I caught it on video, the vandalism clear. Dylan, the skater kid, slipped me a recording of Meredith on a call, bragging, bylaws? They'll bend or break. Her arrogance was my ammunition. I sent my EVY Densicamera invoices, gate damage, Dylan's Clipto, the state HOA oversight board, flagging fraud and privacy violations. Then I mail Meredith my cease and desist, certified, listing her forged rules and demanding her resignation. She didn't fold. She pounded doors, while VYing a petition to oust disruptive elements, me. No one signed. Clara offered her chamomile tea and a therapist card. Meredith's patrols dwindled, her dogs sulking, her empire fraying. The HOA meeting she called to rally her troops was her Waterloo. The clubhouse overflowed, neighbors packed in, some standing, others perched on windowsills. Meredith strutted to the podium, binder raised like a scepter, launching into a tirade about color palette compliance and PRE-approved planners. Snickers rippled through the crowd. She faltered, tapping her pen like a nervous tick. I stood. Before we vote on petunias, let's address legality. I laid it bare. The lapsed nonprofit status, the unelected board, the void fines. Gasps followed as I projected her forged bylaws on a borrowed screen. Then the camera receipts, the gate vandalism. Grace, I said, how much for your gnomes again? She stood, voice steady. $200. For ceramic frogs. Laughter erupted. Meredith snapped. You know, lawyer. I smiled. No, I'm the sheriff. The room roared claps, cheers, a few whistles. Ernie rose. I moved to dissolve the board. Clara seconded. The vote was unanimous. Meredith sat, pale as a ghost, as Grace and Ernie formed an election committee. She slipped out, her binder abandoned. She didn't go quietly. A week later, she sued me, the committee, even Clara's kid, for harassment and defamation. Her lawyer, a budget hire, submitted grainy photos of my truck labeled menacing. Judge Clara Warner, a friend from my academy days, tossed the case in 20 minutes, citing bad faith. I declined to countersue Meredith as humiliation was punishment enough. The state dug into her finances, uncovering fake vendors and a dog-grooming side hustle tied to HOA funds. Fraud charges loomed. Her house hit the market, unsold, its lawn a jungle. Willow Creek threw a block party. Burgers sizzled, kids danced to a karaoke version of Sweet Home Alabama. A plywood sign rose by the park. Freedom lives here. I said the new HOA Grace, and Ernie's crew and bylaws that protect, not oppress. My truck stayed put, neighbors snapping selfies beside it like it was a monument. Meredith vanished, her reign a cautionary tale whispered over beers. I patrolled the county, my F-350 gleaming, a reminder that some battles end not with cuffs, but with a smirk and a vote. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.